Do an Andrew. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, hey, we're already live. Damn it.
Already live.
All right. Hey, Crazy TV Talk, and this is the Continuum, episode 13. This is the finale for this season. It's going to be a great one, and remarkably, we're only going to be doing one episode instead of 3, so we're going to see if we can keep it under an hour and a half. But you never know, because we definitely have a bit of a pedantic group here, and we'll get way too dug down into the rabbit hole. But I'm not going to be calling people back from the rabbit hole because we do have time and that luxury. So to get things rolling, I'm going to throw it over to my salubrious co-host, JD.
Hi everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for everybody coming on. Steph, of course, as always, welcome. I'm excited to hear your opinion on this because I know there's probably a divergence. I know you didn't enjoy the last episode, so that was kind of a setup to this one. We'll see what you think of this finale versus last season's finale. And Tony, welcome back, of course. Thank you for all your insight. Thank you for being here, and we'll get into it right away. The last episode, of course, is episode 13. It's called The Last Minute, and I'm excited to get into it. Let's roll.
All right, rocking and rolling, as they say. 13. So I just got 13 episodes. Why 13 episodes, guys? Why not 10? Why not 17? 13 seems like a bad luck number. Is 13 normal?
It's beginning to get normal with a lot of series now.
Yeah.
Budget.
Yeah, I think so. And what tends to happen is the premiere episodes, in terms of first season episodes, the first two episodes seem to be the intro to a series, and then you have 11 episodes to tie it up. And 13, I think, is an excellent number. There's some series that pull off 10. There's some series that pull off 8. Da Vinci's pulls off 8 and does really well with it. But when you have something as complex, I think, as Continuum, any extra episode you can get can really help move the story and help move all the various timelines. So, I'm happy.
Okay, I will admit defeat. Sorry, Tony, you broke up there for a sec.
Luther, that's only a 4 episode long season.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but Luther, that's from England, and they do 3 and 4s, and they're mega shows. They're an hour and a half each.
Yeah, they're 90 minutes plus sometimes. So, and they treat it like a film, so it's done a bit differently. And the same with Sherlock. But I appreciate what you're saying.
Cool. Gosh, we're being polite today. Damn it.
Oh.
All right, let's mix this baby up. So let's get started here.
I'll add some gin to that, and we'll see what happens.
We thought you were doing tea. Now is Stephanie really going to feel left out?
I really feel left out.
Such a loser.
One of my favorite coffee spaces.
You've got to win that coffee, don't lie.
Yeah.
All right, let's do best scene, and I'll throw that over to Tony to start up. What's your best scene for this?
Oh, geez, you had to ask me that? I couldn't figure out which one I like. Okay, the best one I'm going to have to say is the last one because it keeps me up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn good.
That's a cop-out, I know.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, it was an amazing last scene, and it's going to come up later on because it is in my notes here for some other stuff. So shall we discuss? Because it is pretty amazing what happens in that last scene. We got this build-up, a lot of, I've got this device all the way through. They're teasing us, and then you figure, well, are they going to use it? Like about 5 minutes before they get to that scene, are they going to use this device? Well, maybe not. And there's, I guess they are. And when they use it, what happens completely blew my mind.
I was expecting something devastating, like a bomb or something, right? Like a massive nuclear bomb to the city. That would change the future. But yeah, there was something else entirely. It was just that wrapped it up. That's my thought.
All right. Cool.
I found it interesting going into that scene as well, just in the fact that the scene is really about the two characters, Kira and Brad, having this conversation about future, do we care to know, should we know, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you catch it, it's pretty subtle, but Brad definitely wants to know. He wants to know if it worked or not. Kira is like, I'm done. I'm good. Whatever happens, happens.
Well, what's really interesting... Yeah, what's really interesting though is this is his future. It's not Kira's anymore. Her future is the other timeline. This timeline is his, and that's what's so cool about what has transpired. Here we are at the end of season 3, and it's literally the end of Kira's timeline. That's what closes out with that scene. It really cements the idea that, guys, you're on a whole nother timeline, and now it's cemented for sure. This is what's happening right now, and that's why that last scene is so powerful. It's not just the Terminators, the mech warriors coming from the future and coming back, and man, they're ready for action, and they're outmanned and outgunned. The power goes out. Kellogg is ahead of this world. Like it's really reset Continuum timeline 2. That's where we're heading to. So I'm curious on how many other timelines we're going to go through. That was the Kira Alec timeline. This one is the Kellogg Traveler timeline. I guess the Kellogg Brad Tompkin timeline. And who knows what the next one will be. I think it's going to be Chan and the Traveler is the ultimate timeline, but we'll see when we get there. But yeah, that scene is so kind of powerful because for the first time ever, for 5 seconds, they can imagine what it's like to not worry about the future. But it's only 5 seconds.
A minute. Let's think about it. Really a minute.
A minute. And it's really interesting because it seems fine until Kellogg takes over Pyron SadTech, and then the power goes out. So maybe that last little thing needed to lock into place before the timeline could align.
It kind of makes me think that the timeline that we actually end up with is the Brad timeline. That Kellogg set it up. He knew he was going to take over Pyron. And that's just the results. I think what we ended up. They narrowed down the number of potential timelines to 2.
Yeah,
and in terms of anyone who's watched Star Trek and has gone into temporal mechanics, they know that just is not the way things work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's in our timeline.
Yeah.
That's a different sci-fi over there, man. They'd be messing with it for a long time.
See, the whole thing was set up to try and prevent the corporate Alec from taking over, and we were thinking up until this point that corporate world evolved into this devastated other world, and it turns out that that's not really the case. The way that they frame this is that's one or the other, but I'm not really sure that that's really what the case is going to be.
Yeah, I think it's for sure it's going to be, Kellogg's and Brad's timeline moving forward. I mean, that's the intro scene of this episode. So to keep us moving, the intro scene is my favorite scene in this episode. The one that takes place in the future where it's Brad Tompkin and what's his name? Marcellus, who's his like platoon leader or whatever kind of groups they are, the army groups that they're in, and he basically volunteers him for this one-way ticket. And it's one of the best lines is in there as well, and we'll get to that. But I think it is an amazing scene that has so much information that I had to watch it like 3 or 4 times. And here's a trick, by the way, anybody who watches the enhanced episodes on the Showcase website, is they have closed caption. You can put that on and you can read and understand what they're saying quite a bit. It misses a few words here and there, but when I watched it the last time just before we started recording, I finally understood what was going on in that first scene. And that first scene is basically a one-way mission for Brad to come here and destroy anybody to do with the timeline, anybody to do with Liberate, perhaps anybody to do with the freelancers themselves, and to throw up the beacon and basically give them a portal to come back. That's the general idea of that scene, and it is phenomenal, and it's fulfilled from as the beginner or to the capper that you're talking about, Tony. I think it's a really great bookends for this series going into a new vein and this episode. It was fantastic. I love that scene.
Steffi?
For my best scene, I actually have to bring us back to the very beginning of what went on. Well, kind of middle beginning. I actually found it really interesting how in an entire 3 seasons now it's been Kira versus Liberate. So it's that scene when she is with Liberate and she's almost taking charge of Liberate. Like she is, I've been fighting for the wrong side speech that she threw up, and how her eyes brightened up and she's now found her place. She becomes her military self again, but this time she's just fighting for a different army. And I think that was a really interesting scene.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there was some very, very interesting scenes going on in this show. And one of the things I wanted to point out was that I felt a lot of the scenes were very long compared to a lot of the other shows. The other episodes, there were scenes that were quick, actiony. All these scenes, there weren't a lot of fast action scenes. There were just some big scenes that got a lot of ground covered. So it was almost like, gosh, if only we had a couple more episodes to wrap this up a little bit more eloquently and put some action in there. I think they had to cut a lot of that stuff out.
I think so. Yeah, I agree.
So anyways,
Tony, what were you saying there?
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Back to what Stephanie was saying, I think the change in Kira is that she's changed her mind as to what kind of a future that she came from. She's not quite so starry-eyed about it. And I think what she's fighting for is a better future for her son.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if I agree with that. I think she's given up on her son.
Well, but who?
Comment that she may never see him again, but she feels closer to him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because she knows that her whole universe is gone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing. Is like she basically said, "I'm willing to let it go because guess what? I'm not going back. So everybody that I know is dead, and that whole universe is gone." So yeah, it's like the future Alec that lives in that big ship and started this whole thing. He's gone too, or has he?
I think it's more than it's been gone. It's that she doesn't want it to come about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's abandoned her timeline basically, and Brad has abandoned his, because his job in terms of that first scene and coming back was to kill Kira too, and he decided not to. He decided to put his gun down, like we saw in episode the last episode, where they just decided that I think it was 11, that they weren't going to move forward anymore, that they weren't going to try and fight for these timelines, because the more they seemed to fight, the more they brought about these terrible timelines. So I agree with you, Tony. She's abandoned, and I do also think that she thinks Sam is safe because now he doesn't exist in that horrible timeline anymore. He exists in her heart, in her memory, and she feels close to him. And I think that's the final emotional cap that they put on it. I think the Kira that will start season 4 is an independent Kira that has no attachments to any past. It's this present moving forward. I think one of the scenes where Brad mentions that we have to commit to this timeline right now, this history, the one we're making. But of course that gets all blown out by the end.
Yeah, it's like, or not. I'm going to jump in and say I had two. I think the most important one was for interest's sake was the opening scene with Kellogg stepping. They have that long scene, and then Kellogg comes just for a split second. And for me, he was trying to change the world he was in, just like the old Alex was trying to change the world he was in the first episode, the first season. And I thought that was a nice little round weirdness going on.
I think there's an assumption being made here. I'm not entirely convinced Kellogg wants the world to change to be different than what that future Kellogg is existing in, because he's in charge of everything, right?
He could.
I would think that. I think he's sending people back. He's sending all of these people back to preserve his power. That, to me, is false. It's consistent with his character.
Well, I think what he's doing is if that's the case, then he's sending people back, or he's trying to control the situation so it doesn't erupt into this messed up fiasco. So he wipes out all the people that are ever going to oppose him, and then he gets to reign supreme with less war, because they were in a war zone. It had been going on for a long time, and it was a messed up situation, and he looked a little on the haggard side. So yeah, he was trying to fix his timeline. Once again, everybody's trying to, oh, it's messed up now, so I'll send somebody back to make it all nice now. And what all the people that are in the past are saying, dude, don't be doing this, because every time you do it, you just make huge mistakes. We figured it out. The best thing to do is be happy with what you got and move forward.
Well, yeah, remember the central premise that the freelancers say, Catherine talks about, is that that the Traveler made this decision because everybody kept messing it up and trying to be in control and trying to be power, that the Traveler went back 1,000 years to try and control or frame the entire timelines and all the stuff that happens. But I tend to agree with you, Tony. Now think about those mechanized warriors. They left a future where their boss was Kellogg. As soon as they see him, isn't Kellogg really handing off the most sophisticated mechanized army to himself? You know, about 20-something years in the past, and man, is he going to accelerate this future?
Or he sent those guys to assassinate himself.
That's incredible, but yes, that's totally possible. Yeah.
You know, this series, if I was trying to say, come on, let's mess with them in season 4, episode 1, and Kellogg gets taken out.
What was your
and then
second?
they won't self-destruct. Yeah. Okay, and the second one was Kellogg kicking Alex out of his own office. I thought that was
that is such an amazing scene.
Yeah.
Like, not just for the lines, but for the whole idea, like, oh, he doesn't know yet. Like, when he talks to the security guards, just the whole Kellogg being Kellogg being Kellogg. Yeah. Oh, I just love him. He's terrible.
I have a problem with that, though. And I get the confused.
What was that?
Sorry, I was just thinking as you were talking, JD, that I have a bit of a problem with that.
What's the problem?
I don't think Alex that dumb, and he was never trusting of Kellogg to begin with. He didn't even want him on board, but Kellogg wormed at the end. So I guess if I was in Alex's shoes and I had to take on this guy that I didn't trust, there's no way I'd be signing documents without knowing what exactly it was I was signing.
Did you guys? Yeah. Yeah,
well,
but
they might be setting us up for a flip-flop.
There's also some people still in play. Now, Liberate end up in the Freelancers' old base. Emily, for some reason, got herself arrested. We're not really sure, but she just got herself arrested. They don't explain that. And Lucas has complete access to Pyron SadTech, 100%, and he has Jason beside him. So this Alec, who gets kicked out of his office at the end, he's got all the keys to the kingdom. I don't think he's in any kind of bad way. Emotionally, though, it looks really cool. But I know, I mean, they got Lucas on their side, and that guy is Alec and Jason from the future as well. Like, they have a powerhouse team of the most technically gurus of the next 70 years of time, and there's 3 guys on one team. They're in control. Kellogg is not really in control. Kellogg will have to use force. Once he uses force and not his intellect, he'll lose his hand, and they're going to win in that way. But
or not.
It's cool.
Yeah,
it's cool.
They definitely set the stage for some fun stuff to go on in the next season 4 with the opening episode, and hopefully maybe they'll do a pilot style where it's like a long two show opening.
2 episode, yeah, I think that would be fantastic because there's a lot of chaos that's about to happen, and compared to what they did like last season, I think they can explore that. It took them about 3 episodes at the beginning of this season to settle what happened in the last episode of last season. Yeah, so I figure the same.
And this one's even less defined. At least that one, what an understanding of there was a timeline, there was some time travel that had happened. We didn't exactly know what was going on, but it was set in a certain direction. This one is anywhere. It can go anywhere. We have no idea who was in the suits at the end, if they were the good guys or the bad guys. We don't necessarily know if Kellogg actually took over that kingdom or if he's pretending to take over that kingdom because he knows he can get away with it for at least a short time. Like, there's so much up in the air.
Yeah, and there's that one tiny, tiny scene of a shot of Chan and the Traveler says that line, "It has begun," and you're like, okay, what's that all about? Like, oh, all right, so you've seen it all before, I guess, and so there are so many teams and factions that are still here. I agree with you. Last season, Steph, there was a purpose and a goal. The goal was Alec wanted to save Emily, and Kira wanted to save her opportunity to get back to the future. That's it. That was it. And then they introduced the freelancers and their big timeline. So this whole season has really been a setup to negate everything up to this point and reboot and start again in a whole place that we don't know what's going to happen. And I like that. I like that. In Season 4, I'm literally in the dark moving forward. I think that's an amazing opportunity.
Something you said, Nadine, about what the Traveler said, that it has begun, that really suggests that all of the stuff that we've seen thus far was not new. It was not a deviation from what has gone on, at least in his future. He's seen all of it happen already.
Yeah. Now the shit's going to get real.
Yeah, or unreal-er.
Unreal-er.
Okay, so let's talk about character development. I'll start off, and I'll say Alec and Kira. I think they really had some great opportunities, especially Kira. She had some really heartfelt, long, monologue style scenes. And I thought Alec was nice to have him buffed up a little bit. What do you guys think?
Alec is amazing in this episode. I think technologically, in terms of this episode, they did some amazing special effects. That entire fight sequence with the two Alecs, they did a very good job on making it very seamless. And man, bloody and gross, wicked, somebody dies in the most gory way, but clearly kills himself in order to punish somebody he hates, which really puts a topper on how evil this little bastard had become. Like, Jesus, you murdered yourself? What did you do, you crazy mental case? It was awesome.
Well, he wasn't coming back.
Your future dies with me? Like, it was awesome.
That was a lot of blood. A lot of blood.
Yes.
Yeah, it was very viscous blood too. I've been noticing that in a lot of shows. They really thicken the blood up. Really thicken the blood up.
Yeah, they gotten away from the red to the real dark. You know this is bad when it's all not oxygenated.
Oh, gnarly. Steffi, what do you got?
I agree with you. When it came to character development, I saw some really, really clear transition with Kira. I mean, she really found the lost part of herself in this episode, when she kind of just in the acceptance of everything that was going on and where she needed to go forward, and now she's in control of her own destiny, which she wasn't in any part of previous seasons. So yeah. Kira for sure had the most character development in a single episode of Continuum.
Yeah, and also Steph, so calm about not having a destiny. like she was so happy to stop fighting almost. To fight to stop fighting. I agree with you. She really has come absolutely full circle. In earlier episodes where she talked about waking up, it finally came to fruition here, and it really came full force. It's really the end of that powerful relationship between, I think, Kira and Alec and their timeline. I really think this is the setup for it being about Brad and being about Kellogg and their new timeline.
Okay, well then let's go to, we've got everybody. Tony, did we do you for your best?
Nope.
I agree.
Okay.
Kira is the most obvious character in terms of the change, and it's like an acceptance in terms of where she is and her lot in life. She's changed. She's matured a lot.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to jump into the next one, which is best line. This should be some good ones. I'll let people do more than one because I'm sure there's about 10 each. And let's start with. I'll let Jadine. You can have one line.
Okay, this is from the first. I can have one line. Jerk. Don't put a cap on me. I'll just start spouting lines off like crazy.
And line 14.
Page 17, second paragraph. It's in the first scene. It's Brad, and he's talking to Marcellus, and they're talking about this kind of one-way ticket, and Brad says, "Who's the unlucky bastard?" And Marcellus looks at him. "Oh, right." I just love that. And it says, and then he goes, "You put yourself on the list," he said, and then he finally says, "It was a long list." Like, come on, man, really? Me? It was perfect. It was just awesome. And a great way to open. And what's really neat is this whole episode had some of the funniest, lightest lines in light of how dark this whole thing was. They really did a great transition of those.
I totally agree. So Tony, what was your favorite line?
Well, I did write more than one, but
that's okay. We'll do one each, and we'll go do another round. Don't worry.
Then I'll pick the funniest one. It's when Lucas said, "Whatever this is, I'm in."
Yeah. He jumped all over that, didn't he?
Yeah.
He couldn't wait. Yes.
There was a lot of great scenes with looks. I couldn't believe how many looks of assessments. Like when they have the plan, and then Travis is in the room, and then they're all in the room the next time, and where Garza sees Kira walk in with Travis, and there's these looks, and there's a ton of looks, even almost more so than lines. That's just awesome. I love that line.
Okay, Steffi, what's your line?
So that was going to be my number one favorite, but my other favorite, I can jump in now.
Yeah.
It's kind of the long duologue that they were doing between Brad and Kira in the I guess it's the second scene when they're talking about their relationship, and
yes.
I knew you were going to pick this one.
Like this, so this is how it comes out when we realize we have like incompatible timelines. I worked for a warlord. I worked for Big Brother. We're two sides of an argument, but we don't have to have that argument. I mean, it's this cute little back and forth tennis match that was going on between them in the delivery, but then just the way that they said it was so perfect. That's every relationship you've ever had with any person in your life.
Yeah.
Well, they definitely went for the girly show for that scene, for sure.
Well, yeah,
sounded biased, but really, I mean, come on, it was like
I disagree with you.
Paris and when Harry meets Sally.
I totally disagree with you. I think they're doing something very, very conscious in this season to give, because now Kira has made a decision to separate herself emotionally from her son and her husband, who I guess she loved him. I don't know, that guy Greg, who knows? He's disappeared. But they need a really emotional connection, and Alec has Emily, and Kira needs somebody, and we need stakes when we get into season 4, and the relationship between the two of them are going to be those stakes. So as cutesy as you think it is so vitally important moving forward that these two people not only can kill each other and fight each other because they're both that powerful, they're willing to kill for each other probably, and that's what we're going to see in the next season, but that they love each other. And I think it's so vitally important, or else we're going to lose the plot when we move forward.
Well, I think it's a little more complicated than that too, though, because there's stuff about the future that Brad did not reveal.
That's what I thought was amazing writing in this episode. When you see that first scene, the last 3 episodes of Brad, he really didn't follow orders. He made a decision not to share some information with Kira, not to share information with whoever. Like, I really love that he's human. He's not just an automaton from the future. He's not like Kira. His future is not a fascist future. It's a war future where it's about survival. Hers is a controlled future. So those two differences really come out in that scene, and I think that's why that scene is so powerful. It's like, you're a fascist and I'm an anarchist. Let's have a conversation. That's amazing to try and put those two people together.
Do you think it reminds you of Sarah Connor?
There's some of that and Kyle Reese. There's a bit of that going on there. Yeah, and there was a lot of homages. There was homage to The Matrix in here. There was homage to Terminator on several levels, the first scene and the last scene. There was homage to a lot of stuff, and I really liked it. It didn't get on my nerves or anything. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I think they did a very, very, very good job, for sure. Has everybody done lines? No, I'm okay.
You do.
Oh, me? Me. All right. I would say I like the line, paranoid Alec with a time travel device.
Yes.
I thought it was
not
a good one.
Good.
It's like, is that crazy? What could happen? So I think that was laying a really big Easter egg for in the future, right? He might just go back, start it all over again. Who knows? So yeah, I thought that was a really fun line. Okay, Jadine, what's your next line?
It's funny, I can extend that line because I wrote down the whole line in the interaction, because that's when they do the big reveal of Travis. And that's, Emily says that, paranoid Alec with a time travel device, not good. And then Brad adds, yeah, with Kellogg standing right beside him. And Kira continues, we need a game plan and we need help. That's where you come in. And the big reveal with Travis.
Yeah,
it's such a
hand to the right.
Scene.
Kapow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was great too, to just have Travis there and then later bring in the others. I think it's so good. And that relationship between Travis and Kira, and what she explains later, it's not mutual respect, it's mutual goal. And those are two different things. And that's what's so great about it. They have a mutual goal, and they're soldiers, so they'll work towards it.
I guess Stephanie, you're up next.
I think we've pretty much gone through my favorite of favorites. I mean, they've already been said. The other one I had on here was Your Future Dies With Me. Just that like one-off scene tied in with those few last dying words of one of our beloved characters from like season to season.
Yeah.
Up until he said that, I was convinced that it was the other Alec that was killed.
Well, that was what was so interesting about this scene. It's like, which one's gonna win? What are they gonna do? And even after that, it was like, is he faking it? And you really weren't 100% sure, because I felt after that scene it was a little soft, and for me that kind of goes to the scene which I felt was confusing and not that good, was the post-fight sequences of scenes. It was like they're really not nailing it down pretty, and are they doing it on purpose because they're going to do something wacky like is the evil guy got away with it? Who knows?
Yeah,
so
I think that scene is amazing too, because it's a death scene that we actually get to be a part of, where when Kira is killed, we don't really see it. We find a dead body, so we're not emotionally connected to it. When Betty's killed, it's like a drive-by. There's no real. It's really unceremonious. With Sonia, I think that's the only one that is really a conscious decision, but it's a suicide bombing essentially, so that's really hard to connect with. And here you get to really see the edge of his psychosis, of him willing to, that just actually one of my favorite lines is where he's telling Alec, a paranoid Alec is telling Alec how he's going to go back in time and kill his girlfriend in front of him again and again and again. Like, what a nut bar. This guy is fucking woo! I'm like, so you love her, so you're going to murder her in front of your clone or your cop? I don't know. Like, what? You're nuts. Yeah, dark. I thought it was a great end to a dark character. And I was worried. I want to ask you guys, did you guys know who it was that died? Like, or were you waiting like I was?
I couldn't tell. Like Tony said, I couldn't really tell. It was like, and then when they were you think he was strangling him, and he said, "Oh, that must be the guy," and then he stabs and says, "Oh no, it must be the other guy." I had no idea. I really
and
had
he
no idea.
almost choked him completely to death there. Like that was a serious choke.
Yeah, that was a clue. He was choking him, and then Alec went limp, and then he checked, and then decided to keep choking. At that point, I suspected that was the paranoid Alec.
Yeah, they did give him a look though, where he kind of reacted like, "I can't believe I did this," but then he went right back to choking again. Yeah. So it's like, oh, okay, it's the other. Okay, I get it. What do you think, Steph?
Through the entire thing, I wasn't confused. I mean, I probably just guessed properly. I've always thought that they were who they were in it. But, yeah, they may even have been able to play off of that a little bit more. But realistically, I think I would have disliked it had they, because it's a little cliche when the two people, who's going to win the battle. So, yeah, I'm glad that
if Kira showed up 5 minutes earlier and it's the no shoot him, no shoot, because we kind of saw that earlier, and also it is so cliche. It's so cliche to play that game. Yeah.
All right, Tony, what do you got for another line that you liked?
One of the early ones was Kira, which really made it clear what kind of changes she's gone through. When she said, "I never knew I could want so little, so much."
Yeah.
Powerful line. That goes kind of back to what Stephanie was talking about, these powerful lines coming out of her. Jadine, how many more do you got?
I got one more, and it's the Batman reference. I thought it was fantastic. With
nice.
And the line is, what happened to Alec? Legally, it's probably best we don't tell you. Oh, so that's how it's gonna be. What do you mean? This relationship. I'm Commissioner Gordon, and you're. Oh, I know this one. I thought. Forget it.
Yeah.
And then right away, Emily's in custody, and so it begins.
Very nice.
I love that.
What else? Oh, and then the one I'm going to jump in here for the best line. It wasn't a line. What it was the whole Halo marketing BS presentation was a Steve Jobs copy. Yeah. If you look at it, he's all in black. He's got jeans on. He's got a black. He doesn't have a turtleneck, but regardless, he's got the big screen in there. It was a Steve Jobs presentation. I thought that was hilarious because Halo is a very, iHalo type device, and what Apple is planning on bringing to the market in the next 6 months or less is a Halo device, because it will take. Their watch apparently will take readings off of your vitals, and that put that into the make it available to anybody type of thing. So I thought that was a nice tongue-in-cheek thing that I think went past a lot of people that watched it. But if you're into the monitoring what's going on in technology, that was a very, very interesting.
I think the writers have a really good grasp on that stuff. I mean, by bringing in, Bitcoin and Darknet and all sorts of other things. This is another one of those things where, and the corporations and that kind of control, that they've done a really good job about really mirroring or paralleling what's going on right now in history. And I think that's great, because the best sci-fi to me is a bit of a warning, is a bit of be careful how much technology you want to bring into your life. Be careful on what you do with that technology and who you give power to, because it is about, in the end, like Liberate, when they broke in the podcast, in the presentation, that it is a shackle that they're putting on you. It's frightening. It's a bit interesting. I loved it too. I thought it was great.
Yeah, and the way they portrayed the fans, the super fans, is like, oh, I want it, I'll do anything, I'll give you more money for it. That is a direct quote for what happened with iPhones. And people would come in. I remember talking to Andrew, and he works in a phone store, and people come and say, I need an Android. And he said, well, what do you need it for? He said, well, it needs to do this. As well, I'm not an Android, I need an iPhone. And so, well, you don't. Here's a device that's actually better and cost less. Says, no, you don't understand. I need an iPhone. They don't need it to do anything. They just needed it to be accepted by society, and that was, it's a fashion item, and that's one of the things that's spectacular about
a fascist item. Sorry, I missed that.
Well, Apple is turning from a fashion place to a fascist place, definitely with Mr. Cook involved. But
Yes.
I think that's why a lot of people got a bad taste in their mouth right now. But
Just
regardless of our, go ahead, Steffi.
Just to tie into that a little bit, I want to kind of throw out another thing that I think is really interesting about Continuum, because I'm watching a whole lot of television series going back maybe 5 years, 10 years, even before that, just for the fun and nostalgia of it. Continuum is set in this time. These are the things that we care about in 2014, 2013, and 2012. And this is exactly what our society looks like. This is how we look back on this series a few years from now, and we're going to see tons of changes in the world, most certainly in comparison, but this is a little Polaroid blueprint of what it is to live in this society now, and I really love that.
Yeah.
Nice little sociological experiment going on.
Yeah, I agree. That's great.
Well done, Steffi. All right, with that way too cerebral approach to this whole interview here, let's go to the worst and most confusing scene. I'm going to just jump right in and say Alex talking with the group about Alec and what to do with himself. I thought that was kind of strange and a little concerning, and it didn't quite fit for me, but maybe that was just my mood at the time.
Yeah. And that's what he's talking to Brad and Kira, and he's talking about what kind of Yep. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, it's because that's when there was the whole plot thing of switching back and forth, and they were talking about Alec as like he wasn't in the room, but he was in the room, but actually he wasn't in the room because he was the other Alec. So yeah, it was interesting. So Tony.
The worst, most confusing scene to me, I think we already covered that when I was talking earlier. But one of the things that I understand for the purposes of drama that they had to make both Alex look entirely different people, at least from the personality perspective. But the paranoid Alec, I guess I'm a bit skeptical in that I'm not convinced that he could be that sociopathic, considering the other Alec is not. It seems to me like they probably should have introduced other things that happened to him in his life that would justify the kind of psychopath he became at the end.
Yeah, it was a bit of another.
I agree. I think they are pushing it a bit, but the way the season starts out is this Alec gets to experience two things that our hero Alec doesn't. One, he experiences the murder and loss of his father, Escher, and he's the one who inherits the company. So the pressure is put upon him. And then he loses Emily at that exact same time. And he gets manipulated into basically this company by Kellogg and by Dylan in order to, to me, the other Alec is on vacation. He's a beach bum hanging out with his girlfriend. He's not really doing anything. This isn't his timeline. He has no responsibilities. He really is just here to save his girl. He's kind of done. Now, shit happens to him, but it's really that the fact that all this stuff compounds on that one kid. And they say it again and again in this episode. You're a kid. You're a kid. Everybody calls him a kid. It drives him crazy. He literally drives himself crazy. He doesn't want to be a kid, and he was willing to drill into the head of his friend in order to forward and not be the kid anymore, to be the hero in his life, and he was willing to sacrifice for it. So I think the moment he drilled into Kira is the moment he went bananas.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Stephanie.
So for me, I had a lot of confusing moments of what? Did I miss something? Did I miss a scene? Did I miss an episode? And they all seem to congregate around the same kind of little area. Now, if you remember when we've got Carlos and Jason and Kira and everybody is basically assembling and talking about the game plan that's going to go forward. Like, what are they going to do? How are they going to attack everything? And the things, I had these little question marks in my head, like, is Carlos taking over for Dylan? Because they never officially said that he was, but it seems like he's got that role now. We know it's temporary because there's that one little phrase that says he's that Dylan's in the hospital or something. But okay, so he's taken on a new job. Where was Where in the entire season was he next in line for that? Didn't make sense to me. Jason, all of a sudden Jason's on the side of the corporations and he's now working with the Liberate Kira Brad kind of thing. When did he switch sides? I didn't see that happen. And then Emily, she just is a part of it because she's watching the presentation, but she has no say in anything that's going on. So why is she there? None of these things are making any sense, and they missed a really important character that should have been there. Whatever happened to the leader of Liberate? Whatever happened to Julian? Shouldn't he have been part of the conversation?
Yeah. I think it's interesting, but I think that's kind of, I agree with you on quite a few of those. There are some huge holes. The Jason hole is the one that bothered me. He all of a sudden is there. And then the Emily, why is she sacrificing herself? It seems like it's part of the game that we're not aware of. But Kira says Emily was just supposed to stay out of the way. Here you have this skilled warrior like Emily, and her job is to just stay out of the way. And I think it's because of Alec. But she went there on purpose to watch? Is she want to punish the other Alec? I don't know. So I totally agree. That makes no sense to me. I'm very happy that Julian isn't in this episode because I think the last episode solves a lot with that, with the conversation that Sonia has with him, that he needs to be that leader and he needs to stay away. That she's ending kind of the Liberate timeline of them by making that choice and trying to make a change for herself, that he needs to be a different type of leader, to be different than her, to be non-violent. So I think it's a really, like, he's going to show up in like the next episode or the first episode of the next season or something, but I kind of like that, I think it would have been, where are you going to stick him? What's he going to do? I don't think he could have added anything to this story, but it is a noticeable absence for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
And mine, to continue on, is the Kellogg-Chan Traveler thing. They really don't key into any of it, and that kind of bothers me. We see one tiny scene with Chan and the Traveler saying, it has begun. But Kellogg knew the moment he went into the office that the other Alec was dead and that he had killed him. I don't know how he knew, but he knew. And it carries over from last episode and the episode before, where Kellogg, because he's connected with Chan and the Traveler, has some inside line on the future or information, and that is yet to be revealed. So I don't really know what the heck's going on there, and that to me is a bit confusing on how Kellogg is really remaining 3 or 4 or 5 steps ahead of everybody.
I've got one more, and it's a toss-up between best scene and the most confusing scene, and that's when Alex gets switched off. They do the gunshot, and there's the elevator, and they do the kind of like the scam thing, and basically is that who's on whose team, because you really don't know. And as that scene unfolds, more and more people were involved. It's like, oh, he was in on it. I get it. Yeah. Totally fooled me. Totally fooled me. And I
Carlos
thought that was very clever.
They did a good job with Carlos, where he's not really in on what's going on, you think, until it's revealed that he is. Yeah. And I love that. That was one of my favorite lines too, where paranoid Alex says to Kira that, I don't understand, you're going to lose your family, you're going to lose your future if you do this to me. And Carlos turns to him and said, let's go, shithead. And I just love that kind of the way Carlos is like, I'm so tired. Like, he's so tired of all these time-traveling destiny assholes who are just like all around him all the time, telling them about what should be and what could happen. Like, let's go. Just let me do my cop job and move on, you shithead. Let's go. and then he explains that it's, it's kidnapping. Yeah, it is kidnapping. Yeah, I got no problem with that.
Exactly. I wanted to actually also mention with Carlos, because what's going to happen with Carlos next season, because he's kind of been in the background of being a little starry-eyed with Kira, and you always thought maybe that's the romantic interest, but that's out the window now.
Yeah. And I think that's a...
So what's going to happen?
I think next season,
going to become a bad cop?
To me, is Dylan versus Carlos. Mm-hmm. Dylan's going to come back, and they're going to have a fight for power. and I think that's going to be something spectacular in terms of what that really means, because again, those are people who are from this timeline. So I think that's good, and Julian will probably be at the center of that. I think that relationship is gonna further as well.
I think what we should do is ship
They're
the shit
going to
to
have
the
to be
writers.
careful with
Go ahead, Tony.
You're breaking up there, Big Tony.
There you go.
And he's still broken up. Okay. Well, Tony froze. Hopefully he'll be able to make it back in. So let's quickly and seamlessly move on to the overall. Oh man, we're already at the overall scene. I keep forgetting this is only one episode.
Yeah.
We've already been talking for an hour. Crap. Tony,
That's
you're
all right.
back.
We got some other things we're going to talk about. So.
Okay,
Hey, Tony's back.
Tony's back. All right, he just had to go to a different timeline, and now he's back.
Which Tony is this? Is this crazy Tony, or which one? Hero
Dark
Tony?
Tony.
Nice.
So, Tony, what was your point before you froze?
I don't
Ooh. Oh, okay.
Oh.
So.
No, it's a different Tony.
So it's a win-win.
Okay.
I do remember
Oh,
they
damn.
communicated to me. They're going to have to be careful when they set Carlos up for a fight with power with Dylan, because I don't think Carlos is the type who really is interested in power. So it would have to be a situational thing where he would have to choose that this is the right thing to do to make sure that Dylan doesn't get back in power.
Yes.
Yes.
So I don't think it's him wanting power, it's him trying to avoid a worse outcome.
Full on.
And really, he's going to have Batman on his side. He's going to have Kira, so he'll just send out the Kira signal, and she'll come in and help him out, and it'll be awesome.
Actually, I just had a thought. You know those guys that come in on the last scene?
Yeah.
I wonder if one of them's Kellogg. Duh, duh, duh.
That Kellogg from the future was too old to be like fighting like a warrior. I don't think. That would
Yeah,
be
but
him.
he could be going there as a commander on the ground.
He would never could do
protective
that,
gear.
I don't think. I think Kellogg would always make someone else do it for him.
He doesn't get his hands dirty. That's not his work.
It's out of character.
Like,
Okay.
he got power of the company by using Jacqueline. She ended up being the evil character who I thought she was in the whole season, and basically slowly sold the company over to Kellogg. So she's evil too, and it's like, Kellogg just doesn't do anything for himself. He manipulates people into doing things. So I doubt he would ever pick up a gun.
I don't think that Kellogg actually legitimately owns that company. I think he knew immediately that we were talking to the other Alec and manipulated Alec into thinking that those papers were signed. I don't think he actually has it.
Ooh. All right, so there's some great little
Interesting.
plot
So-
twists that are going to come out in about 8 months.
Twists and twists. I like that.
Twists inside twists. So let's do the overall score for this particular episode. Steffi, let's start with you.
For this episode, I'd say it's a solid 4.0. Enough interest and questions to kind of keep me excited, but honestly, there were some powerhouse scenes in Season 3, and this one wasn't one of the best episodes.
Okay, cool. Tony?
I agree. Yeah, I'm kind of the same. This was a good episode. It was solid. I really enjoyed it, but there were better ones. So I give it 4.
Excellent. And JD, and I'm curious.
I'm going to go again because unlike Season 2, where finale, which tied up a lot of emotional stuff and really had me on the edge of my seat, this didn't so much in terms of I love the ending and here's the new thing, but to me it's like a total reboot and you have no connection to what's going on. So I tend to agree that I would give it like a 4.1 or a 4. I'm saying 4.1 just because that last scene to me was a real masterstroke in saying, hey guys, it's a whole new game, everything you knew, off the table. It's all different. Let's go. Cool. So I love that. I love that kind of setup, especially as you're going into Season 4 of a series. There's so many people who for lack of a better term, shit the bed when they get this far into a series. And, look at Lost, look at Alias. Look at a lot of other people who, once they get to Series 4, they've really, you know, killed it, and now it's all about love interests and repeating things. You know, once they've done a three season arc. So I thought it was pretty strong, but I agree with Steph that there are episodes in this season that are phenomenal. I will say when we get to the next part what I think of this whole season. But Bob, what do you think of this episode?
Yeah, I gave it a 4.1. I liked it. I would have given it slightly less, except for the last scene. It really, really influenced me, and it's also influenced me on the next question. But really, I gave it a 4.1 because I thought it was an outstanding cliffhanger, and it really wanted me to say, okay, what? This is so, you know, we've done all this stuff, and now it's a totally new. It's like Halo. It's like the video game Halo. It's like that is so far into the future, weird, hardcore technology compared to all the technology that we've seen. It's just like right out of right field. So for me, it was like, whoa. And as the last scene, it was brilliant. So I gave it a 4.1. So this is your new question, Tony, and I have one after that. But Tony, my bad. Jadine, you talked to me today. You wanted to do this.
I wanted to add one question here, and I wanted to say, what was your overall score of season 3, if you had to put a score on it? And I'll start with Tony. What do you think in terms of you? You know, I know did you catch up with us? Were you watching season 3, or did you watch a lot of the other seasons moving into this?
I had already watched the other 2 seasons before getting involved in this, so from my perspective, I think the show's getting progressively better in general terms. So in terms of a score for this one, I would give it a 4.5. Picking numbers. And I'm really curious to see why Brad is so distrustful of Kellogg.
Yeah.
I really want to know why.
Well, he refers to him as a half-mad warlord, so that seems like it. And he's saying that as a comical description while he's in a romantic moment with another time traveler. So it's probably as clear to honesty as you're going to get.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the reason is he's literally trying to seize control of the future, even in the future.
Yeah, and something's happened to Brad that we're not aware of. Why has he had a change in perspective? First of all, he goes back into time, sent by this leader Kellogg. You assume that he's fulfilling the mission. He kills Kira as collateral damage, but something happens to him and he changes his mind. And suddenly he views the person who sent him back in time as evil. So he's had a complete change.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely a major character development, like a huge arc style development for this guy for sure. But they got away with it.
Bob, what do you? I want to go with you. What do you think of an overall season in terms of? I mean, we're working on this week by week, so there's a lot of influence of that. What do you think compared to the other 2?
You know what? It's so difficult because this season was so different than the other 2 seasons. It was you have your first season, which was kind of like an introduction to the concept and a lot of education being involved, and they didn't go too crazy with the back and forth and the weird scenes and the playing with time travel that much. Second season, they kind of ramped it up a little bit. But this season, they had floodgates open. They had some crazy scenes where you didn't know what was going on, like that amazing scene in the warehouse where they're all talking and Kira's got her foot stapled to the ground. I mean, that was heavy information being talked to and the introduction to some wild technology and stuff like that. So I would give it a pretty high score. Probably out of the 3, this is the best.
Yeah.
And if they do another, because nobody knows if they're going to be doing another season, but if they do another season, they've really cleared the deck to do something spectacular with the next season, or completely mess it up. So it's a lot of pressure on the writers to pull it out. But I think, and you mentioned this earlier, hinted at earlier, that this is one of the first times I've watched a TV series and gone to season 3, and the end of season 3, they basically said, and that season 3 is finished. Season 4, we're starting from scratch. Very, very rare that it's been successful. Archer tried it in season 4, I think was it 3? Was a dog's breakfast. It was just, it was just like, this does not work. It's stupid. Okay, it's entertaining, but it's in comparison to your other 2 seasons, this is the worst season you've done. And so it's really nice to see that season 1 was okay, season 2 was better, season 3 is even better, and they've set the stage to make it quite not easy, but doable to make a really spectacular season 4 that is right at like obtuse, 90 degrees, and the fans are going to follow along and say, yeah, I can accept that. That's great.
Yeah.
So it's well done that way. So there you go. That's my tirade.
So what was your rating then?
I would give it a, well, you know, I don't want to give it a rating. I would give it the highest rating.
Just say it's the best.
I know. For the whole season, I don't want to. I would say, what's the highest we can give? Is it like a 5? I think it is.
Tony said 4.5 is what he said. So
I would and all the other ones I've given like a 4.1, 4.2, maybe a 4.3. So, but for this one, I would say a solid 4.4 for sure. Because I mean, there's no such thing as for me. 4.5 is like, whoa, that's just perfect. So because so I would give it that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Steph, what do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me. You've all got me thinking now about season 1 as a whole, and season 2 as a whole, and season 3 as a whole, and of them, which one do I like the most, right? And it's hard, right? Because we're invested in these characters now. So I would probably say that I mean, every one of my ratings, with the exception of maybe 2, has been basically in about the 4 to about the 4.4 zone. So it would be logical just on its own to say that this is probably about a 4.3 for the season. But it's funny. I find it very interesting that all of us are betting on season 4 and making that part of our rating for season 3.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're putting our own imaginations as to what we really want to happen in it. Interesting, hey?
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. It's like we went to the future and have come back.
Well, and it's the lesson of Continuum because of what happened in season 2. The moment they made a decision to cross their own timeline like this, it's like, oh, so 3 was this like gift that you got to unwrap and unwrap and unwrap. So now it's like, okay, now we just had that experience. Now what's the next experience going to be? And the gamble is that they're going to impress us.
Mm-hmm.
And we bring that into it. I think that's amazing.
And they've left so many options. Like if it doesn't actually get picked up, because like seriously, sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. The logic I've never understood.
Yeah.
But really, they've now left it open to so many different types of deviations in the web series world, so many deviations in the motion graphic world, in the
comic books. Yeah, they could do graphic novel now. They've really split it off in a way that they can take it away from this medium if it doesn't go forward as a film. Or pardon me, they could even take it into a film. Is actually something pretty interesting. Why do 13 episodes when you can do one 90-minute, 2-hour film? That could be pretty powerful.
Oh, it's for season 4. And they call it season 4 and make it into a 2-hour movie. That's awesome. Like, oh yeah, stick it to the standards. All right, I've got one last question.
Wait, I'm going to do my overall score for this.
Sorry.
Oh, good. I'm gonna agree with Tony and say it's 4.5 because when I watched season 1, it was an interesting show and I liked it. It was very self-contained. It was very subdued. It really felt like that kind of that future, it buttoned down and controlled, and emotionally it was almost like a cop drama at the beginning, and then season 2 emotionally blew it up and things got a bit crazy, and then we actually got to see another time travel happen, and season 3 to me has been so exciting and so complex and complicated in the writing. I think they really outdid themselves to actually be able to have a show that season 1 was good, season 2 was better, and season 3 was even better. So it's definitely a 4.5. That's hard to achieve, regardless of what happens with season 4. That's a hard thing to achieve in a series. Most of the time you get more of the same. Yeah. don't get them hurtling higher and higher. So, you know, my hat's off to everybody involved in the show: actors, writers, directors, editors, PAs, location guys. It doesn't matter. They've achieved something pretty amazing, and they've shot it in our little hometown of Vancouver, and it takes place in Vancouver, and it's challenging. It's sci-fi. It's really a complete awesome little show. So 4.5. Woo!
All right. So, with that smackdown of positivity from Jadine, we're going to move back to our roots here at Crazy TV Talk, and I want to talk to you guys about what show would you recommend people watch while they're waiting for the next season to air, to get them through this 8 or 9 months where there is no Continuum, or maybe it won't even exist.
Yeah.
What can they watch to, and I'm not saying it has to be of this quality, it doesn't have to be science fiction, but what shows you think people should watch that are very entertaining now, because obviously we're watching more than just Continuum. So I'm going to throw this one out to let's start with Jadine, just to make it really difficult.
Okay, well, there's a couple of series I'm looking forward to, because we've been so involved with Continuum, and because really, when you, for the listener, when you commit to a show like this, what tends to happen is you watch every episode at least 2 times, sometimes 3, especially with something as complex as Continuum. So I feel like I just watched this entire series 3 times over. I really didn't have a lot of time for other things. The only other show that I watched was Game of Thrones, and it was a very good season of Game of Thrones. So if you haven't seen the latest season of Game of Thrones, I would automatically suggest that. And if you're not watching Game of Thrones, we're not friends, and you have a problem. You should talk to somebody about it, and maybe try it. Just try it. It's like I think it'll help. But so I haven't had a chance, so I've piled up. Now I've got 2nd season Hannibal to watch. I've got 2nd season of Orphan Black to watch. I've got 2nd season of Orange is the New Black to watch. I've piled up all these shows because I've been focusing on this one and been loving it, but I've got a huge mound of those. So to me, that's what I want to get into. 2nd season of Da Vinci's Demons.
Amazing.
What else? Am I missing something else? 2nd season of Vikings. Like, I've got so many shows I could watch, let alone something new, and there's 2 that are coming out that I'm looking into, and one is Extant, and the other is Sense8. So the Sense8 is the Wachowski siblings. That's their new one. That's either coming out in late 2014 or early 2015. And the Extant one is a one-off series. The executive producer is Steven Spielberg. It stars Halle Berry. It's on CBS, and they're doing, like, I think a straight 10 episodes. They're doing like they did with Under the Dome, which is, if people like it, they will make a 2nd season of it. If they don't, it's a one-off and we're done. And it's science fiction mystery, and it revolves around an astronaut who returns from outer space, and she's pregnant. So it's an interesting one. I'm interested in that, and that starts, I think, the July 9th. July 9th is the premiere. So that might be interesting.
Interesting. Tony?
JD covered a lot of the ones that I've got on my list. I've got 3 more episodes of this season of Game of Thrones that I'm going to be watching as soon as I'm done here. Orphan Black, 2nd season I'm getting into.
Okay.
And definitely Da Vinci's Demons. There's a new series that looks interesting. I have to think of something here. It's called The Last Ship, which basically there's some sort of global catastrophe, and there's only one. I think it's a destroyer that's left on the planet. It's a sci-fi, and it's I think it's James Cameron that's involved in that one, or he's involved in. Yeah.
Wow, I never even heard of that.
Very cool. I love it when you pull one out of the hat like that. Outstanding work, Tony. Steffi, what's up?
Well, I think you've already mentioned it on many of our Crazy TV Talks, but I'm pretty excited because Guidestones, the web series, the Emmy award-winning web series from last year, it actually premieres on July 15th. And they're going to do it on CTV, so if anyone kind of goes to the online version of ctv.ca, I think they've got a web series section, and that's where it's going to premiere. And I think they're calling it Sunflower Noir. I think I'm not 100% sure on that name, but yeah, I just know that there was so much left at the end of season 1 for Guidestones, and a lot of cool conspiracy stuff going on. And I happen to know this has been shot all over the world, so I'm really excited about that filling my space for an interactive web series.
Nice.
I'm also loving the idea of just jumping in and diving into some of the amazing web series that I was introduced to at the international, like the Vancouver Web Fest, Web Series Festival, because there were so many incredible things that were not launched yet, and I know they're going to be coming out soon. I'm taking down your notes. Thanks very much. I'm going to check out Da Vinci's Demons. I'm going to check out Vikings. I've heard some really great things about those ones there. You know, there's lots. We're coming into summer, which is usually that in-between time when it wasn't the high-budget stuff, but it's the really good writing stuff that comes out right now. So I'm just going to look around and see what I can find.
Longmire. Cool. Check out Longmire. I'm a fan of that. You may or may not be.
Yes, the Western. Well, it's not a Western. It's like what would you call it? Like a Western and he's a detective.
It's a mystery that takes place in a small, sleepy kind of Western kind
with a sheriff.
Yeah.
He's a great sheriff. And there's that amazing scene where the truck just completely wipes out. Boom, 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 and he opens it and he comes out. It's a great scene. So you can watch that when you start watching the series. There's some fun stuff in it too. True Detective. I would say True Detective's coming up soon. It's not available yet, but that's going to be awesome. But the things that you can watch right now, I would say the first season of Hannibal, it's a delight to watch. Yes. It'll definitely, season 2 is going to be awesome. I haven't started that one. I've been saving that one. Orphan Black, if you haven't watched that one, oh my God, you're going to be blown away because it's very, very complex. If you like the complexity of what's going on with Continuum, Orphan Black would be a treat intellectually.
Somebody warned me about that, Bob, which is why I decided to put it on hold while we were into this. They said it's really crazy fun, lots of complex new characters, lots of stuff happening. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
It's
incredible acting, totally incredible acting. Tatiana Maslany deserves an Emmy. It's just incredible.
Then I would say ones that have got me transfixed right now is I've been watching Da Vinci's Demons, second season. I've been binge watching it. I can't stop watching it. It's that good. It opens. To give you an idea, it opens up. The opening scene for season 2 is Da Vinci and basically the killer for the Pope. They're in South America with the Incas, and they're about to get sacrificed to gods.
Oh wow!
That's the opening scene, and they turn to each other, and it's like, what do we?
Don't tell me anymore. Don't tell me
anymore.
It
sounds like Indiana Jones or something. It sounds great.
It's all sorts of Indiana Jones. But what's nice about it, it flips back and forth, and I'm on episode. Let me just double check here. Okay, Da Vinci's Demons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Episode 8, and they just got out.
Oh, they're doing more than...
Don't tell me anymore.
So back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like you're going, you're in Constantinople. Oh, you're back with the Incas. Now you're back in Rome. So they're doing a huge job.
How many episodes are they doing, Bob?
10.
Are they doing 10?
10.
Okay. Yeah. And Bob's talking about it.
Yeah, I will. I mean, but it's beautifully done. Yes. So the other one I would say that's really amazing, you know, obviously Game of Thrones, everybody knows about it. So, but really very good too. So if you haven't been watching it, where the hell have you been? Just got out of a coma. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, very entertaining. Nothing like Continuum, but some nice entertaining.
You definitely don't need to wear pants or be. You could be half conscious for it.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean. Wink, wink.
And then Silicon Valley, another very light watching one.
I enjoyed that show. Just like, what was it, 6 or 8 episodes? It wasn't very long, but it was well done. And right now, working in our software company, it really just makes me howl some of it. So.
Oh yeah, it's brilliantly done. It's amazing writing. Another very light one. You've noticed I've been watching a lot of light ones because watching Continuum again and again and again, teen since that hard on the head. And that is Veep, which is great. It's basically about the vice president. There's season 3 is out now, so season 1 and 2 is quite entertaining. That's quick popcorny stuff. And also the Three Musketeers I just discovered the other day, and it seems quite good. Yep. So yeah, the Musketeers, not the Three Musketeers, the Musketeers.
In that genre, there's Crossbones. That's with. It's only about 4 episodes out so far. It's what's his name? What was that movie that was done about Winslow brain?
I don't know.
Sorry, it's John Malkovich.
That's it. Malkovich, yeah, he's in Crossbones.
Okay. Yeah. So Crossbones. So there's a lot of great stuff out there, people. If you really want to know more, you can always go to crazytvtalk.com. If you listen to this on iTunes exclusively, it's only I think only 40 shows or 50 shows that we show, but we've got a lot more than that. We're on show 83 or 84 right now.
86 just came out. This is 87.
Okay, so 87. So a lot of times, you'll watch these and then you go back and you think, oh, that's it. No, if you go to crazytvtalk.com, you can go all the way back to our first episode. And actually, we did something very similar with Continuum, but we did it with Breaking Bad, and we did 1 episode a week. It was me and Marcel, and we talked about it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row, and it almost killed me because I hadn't watched this series, so I was watching a whole series in like 1 season in a week.
So, Bob, was that
crazy.
Back when you were unemployed and you were on a couch at your friend's place, you ate potato chips as a steady diet and you drank cola? Because I could not conceivably do a series, especially that series. It's really emotionally intensive. And Bob, I watch a lot of television, Bob. Yeah. I'm concerned that maybe that has affected you since. And
I have gone to my doctor, and he does prescribe speed for me. that has helped tremendously.
There you go. Okay,
and
so
I just fast forward through
you worked out all your issues. It's all good.
And I'm not even going to talk about the older shows that I'm rewatching. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that really looks sad.
Yeah.
Anyways, lots and lots and lots of great stuff. Please check out David.com.
I want to take us back to Continuum just for 5 minutes, and just as a capper to this, they haven't renewed this yet. I don't know what Shaw Media is doing. I don't know what Showcase is doing. It is their top-rated show on their channel. Shaw Media, I think, is trying to manipulate to get the budgets down. So they're trying to manipulate the actors. It's become, its numbers have gone up on Sci-Fi from episode to episode. So they're almost up to 1 million people watching per episode. This last one was up at like 9. I think it was 9.7 or 9.6, 960 or something like that. And it was up from last week and up from the week before and up from the week before. It's getting the numbers. It's a popular show. There's a lot of Twitter interaction, Facebook, the enhanced episodes. The hashtag is Renew Continuum. I don't know what they're doing, why they have an announcement, what they're trying to do, but it's a travesty. It's a great show. It's a great Canadian show. It's a great locally shot Vancouver show. I want people to get behind getting this show back. It's very good television, and the United States is seeing it. They're seeing the quality work that we're doing. That's very important for us. Not just culturally, but economics as well.
Yep.
We're very sophisticated here in terms of crews, and this is the kind of TV we can put on. So
we've seen enough of New York and LA.
Yeah, we totally have. Come on, guys. There's a whole world here. Let's take a look at it. And with guide stones, like Steph says, let's see more of it. Let's see the world. Let's really see what's going on and participate. I think it's great. It's an amazing series. And my last question to all of you is, if this was the series finale, how satisfying is it?
Not. I'm frustrated.
Yeah, I would say I would be pretty pissed off because it's kind of got this amazing ending, and it's like that's a huge cliffhanger, and they could have not had that in there, and then that would have been a perfect ending for the season. So I think what it shows is that the showrunner, he's pushing for it big time, saying, okay, let's throw this in just to make it so obvious that we're not going to go away, and we're not going to go away without a fight.
Yeah, I hope so, because you introduce a character like the Traveler, who you see him for the first time in episode like what 10 or 11. Like, come on, man! Like, don't pull the rug out. It's worth it. It's very entertaining, and I just encourage people who are listening to really get behind it. And the hashtags Renew Continuum, put it out there, and let people know you love this show. Follow them on Facebook, follow them on Twitter. Let the actors know, let the producers know, let them know you like it and you want to see more. Go ahead, Steph.
And the writers. I mean, they've done so many incredible things in this one season. Can you imagine you get more seasons of this crew gelling the way that they do and putting out what they're putting out? Wow.
Yeah. Could be pretty awesome. All right, so for everybody out there in Crazy TV Talk Land, thanks for listening to another crazy show. I think we're way over an hour already. Well, no, we're not way over, but for one episode, we're over an hour. That's crazy. So for me, like I said before, please visit our website. Please go to all our other social media places out there and post and monitor us or whatever you want to do. We love to hear feedback. And that's it for me. So I'm going to say, get the hell out of here.
And I'll say thank you again, Steph. I'm so glad you came with us to do this. I've had such a great time talking to you all about this. It's been fantastic. A pleasure. Anything you want to throw out there besides Guidestones, or anything for yourself that you want to add?
Oh, honestly, I want to say that I adore the fact that Canadian shows or Canadian-made shows are starting to call out on themselves. Toronto's done a completely great job on it. Vancouver, I want to see more of Vancouver in your shows. I want to find a way of plugging it in about there. That'd be lovely.
Nice. And thanks to Tony, and I don't know if you're there, Tony. I can't see you. There you are. Hi, Tony. Thank you so much for coming on and catching up with the last 3 episodes or 4 episodes. It's been fantastic to have you on, and look forward to have you on again.
I look forward to come back. This has been fun.
Nice. And of course, check us out on iTunes at Crazy TV Talk. Check out our blog. We're now in Stitcher too, if you use the Stitcher app. Thanks, everybody. Go make a great day, folks.
And one last shout out to Ken, who couldn't make it because he was moving. But that's okay.
Well, he couldn't have called us in between moving boxes. It's just him. Okay, my favorite scene.
Obviously not a true fan.
Yeah. Well,
we don't mean it.
We can't all be.
Okay, arrivederci.
Bye.